Dear viewers, before we move on to the main topic of today's episode, which is changing the course of history right before our eyes, I want to ask you one question. What do you think happens when a system that has terrorized the entire Middle East for decades suddenly loses its control center? The world received the answer to this question just a few hours ago, and the consequences of this blow will reverberate far beyond Tehran. The Middle East is ablaze, but this time, these aren't the localized skirmishes or targeted assassinations we've unfortunately become accustomed to in recent years. What began early Saturday morning is an unprecedented, coordinated operation by the US and Israel that calls into question the very existence of the Islamic Republic in its current form. This isn't just a military operation, it's an attempt to decapitate the regime, and, judging by incoming reports, it may have succeeded. Reuters, citing 2 Israeli and 1 regional source, reported shocking news. Iranian Defense Minister Amir Naser Zada and the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, Muhammad Pakpor, were apparently killed in the strikes. Iranian authorities, of course, rushed to deny this. One regime-affiliated channel immediately declared that all the armed forces commanders were alive and well, urging the public not to believe enemy rumors. However, the devil is in the details. Such denials in the first hours after a crisis are a classic tactic of any authoritarian regime seeking to avoid panic among its supporters. This is especially true when it comes to the IRGC, the backbone of the entire Iranian political and military system. The loss of Pakpor means more than just the loss of a general. It means the loss of control over a vast network of proxy forces across the region, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to the Houthis in Yemen. But the picture would be incomplete without understanding the true objectives of this operation. Israeli sources clearly state the strikes were aimed at the very top. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces Sayed Abdulrahim Musavi, and President Masoud Pezeshkian were targeted. The list of targets also included the Secretary of Iran's newly created Defense Council, Ali Shamkhani, and the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani. This brings us to the main and most intriguing point. The residence of 87-year-old Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in Tehran was directly hit. Satellite images, already being analysed by intelligence agencies around the world, show thick black smoke rising from the destroyed building complex. Khamenei's whereabouts remain unknown. Consider the significance of this fact. Khamenei is not just a political leader, he is a spiritual authority, holding together the disparate factions within the Iranian elite. His disappearance, even temporary, creates a colossal power vacuum. The Iranian leadership's reaction to these events seems almost surreal. Iran's foreign minister declared on Saturday, "We may have lost a few commanders, but that's not such a big deal." This statement sounds less like self-assurance than like an attempt to put a brave face on a catastrophically bad situation. According to NBC News journalists, the airstrikes caused powerful explosions in many cities, including the capital. Iran, realizing it was backed into a corner, responded with an unprecedented wave of strikes against Israel and American bases across the Middle East. Iranian missiles rained down on targets in Bahrain and Abu Dhabi, where one person has already been reported killed. The UAE announced the interception of several ballistic missiles, calling it a dangerous escalation and cowardly act. The explosions were heard as far away as Qatar. CNN reports that the US plans to continue attacks for several days. We are on the brink of a full-scale regional war, the logistics of which are already shifting the balance of power. Strikes on bases in the Persian Gulf pose a direct threat to global oil supplies, which will inevitably impact the economies of Europe, including Germany, which has only just begun to stabilize after the energy crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. But what's happening inside Iran itself? Authorities have urged residents of Tehran to leave the capital if possible. The problem is that the city has virtually no bomb shelters for civilians. Farzana Shafi, whose family lives in central Tehran, told reporters of the growing panic. "People are trying to leave the city. My relatives quit their jobs to pick up their child from school. Everything is closing, and there are massive traffic jams on the streets. Cars are stuck for 2 hours, and traffic is paralyzed." However, Iranian international journalist Kyle Mozan notes that many are staying home, trying to continue their normal lives, as if refusing to believe what's happening is real. Ali, a businessman from Tehran, recounted hearing two powerful explosions during a meeting. Fighter jets were flying overhead. Employees ran out of the building in panic, he recalled. In the upscale Muradmad neighborhood, Hamed Reza Jand watched as at least 10 fighter jets appeared in the sky. People ran into the streets, abandoning cars in traffic jams. Ambulance sirens blared everywhere. Parents rushed to school, he said. Ali Shin Lapor found his daughter hiding under the stairs at school. The principal didn't understand what was happening. Everyone was terrified. In the northern district of Velchak, Gulshana Fatih observed a new wave of aircraft from the roof of her home. People are standing on rooftops, pointing to the sky. You can hear women screaming. Neighbors are running to their cars. It's like a movie, she said. In the Pastoran district, home to a large IRGC compound, explosions shook the windows of houses. Children are crying. We're hiding in the bathroom and don't know what to do. It's scary, wrote engineer Espandiar. Communications have been disrupted in many cities. It's important to draw a historical parallel here. Unlike Israel's strikes last June, which were targeted and primarily targeted nuclear facilities, the current wave of attacks is fundamentally different and much broader in scope. Political infrastructure, the intelligence ministry, the judicial system, and the very same closed compound where the president and supreme leader usually reside, all have become targets. This is happening amid ongoing protests within the country. Iranian society is deeply divided. Not everyone is afraid or angry about the attacks. Ekto Anarian, a resident of a western district of Tehran, said some of his relatives even welcomed the attacks. Near his home, he heard cries of "Long live the Shah," a reference to the monarch overthrown in the 1979 revolution. This is a critically important indicator. A significant portion of Iranian society, tired of the theocratic regime, repression, and economic isolation, sees these attacks not as aggression, but as a chance for liberation. If the central government collapses, we could witness not only a regional war, but also a full-scale civil war within Iran, the consequences of which are unpredictable. In summary, we see that the US and Israeli strategy has changed. It is no longer a policy of containment, it is a policy of dismantling. If the news of the death of Iran's top leadership, including Khamenei, is confirmed, we will find ourselves in a completely new geopolitical reality. The axis of resistance Tehran has been building for decades will be dealt a fatal blow. However, the cost of this collapse could be enormous, from soaring energy prices to new waves of instability, which will inevitably reach Europe. We continue to monitor developments.